All right, but we only have the two of you this evening.
Okay.
All right, then you two will enjoy some fabulous questions. So I would like to, Wayne, we'll start with you. Would you mind introducing yourself? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Sir, it's quite an honor to be here again. Been here a couple of times before during my life in politics, and it's wonderful to be here, and thank you for the work that you do. My name is Wayne Christian. I served in the Texas House for about a decade and a half. I was honored to be named many of the awards for the Taxpayer Champion, Vision America, Texas for Fiscal Responsibility, Texas Association of Business, Young Conservatives of Texas, Texas Right to Life. I'm the one person in this race that has been vice chairman of the Energy Committee that regulates the Railroad Commission. So I'm the only person that has looked over the Railroad Commission and been actually in regulation of them and how they work. Secondly, I'm the person that has experience in Austin in the legislature of how to get things done. I'm the one person that has fought the federal government and stopped the federal government from imposing regulations unreal upon our industries. I've done the work, I've proven myself as a conservative, and tonight I'm here to ask for your vote for the Railroad Commission because Texas oil and gas is almost 40% of our state budget. It's never been as sick, it's never been as low in my memory. And folks, we need somebody with experience that can go in first day, because understand in this session, starting in January, is a provision in the government called sunset. And the Railroad Commission will be wide open for any changes that the Sierra Club or extremists or any environmental wackos or anybody wants to slow down oil and gas production in Texas wants to do. And never has our industry been weaker. Never did we need the strength and support of experience.
Wayne, that's the bell there.
I hope you'll remember me.
Thank you, sir. John, you're up. Please, sir. 1.5 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you live in the state of Texas, you are in the oil and gas business, whether you know it or not. For some of us, that means literally that we work for oil and gas companies, our families, our friends and neighbors work for oil and gas companies. For others of us, it's indirect. The customers of our businesses work for oil and gas companies. But even if that's not the case, oil and gas as a part of our economy drives our common prosperity. The things that make our state work depend on this industry, whether it's roads, schools, the sales tax, the property tax, the severance tax, the rainy day fund. It doesn't take long to realize how crucial this industry is. My name is John Greytok. I am running for the Railroad Commission, and this is my first time as a candidate. I got into this race because of my extreme concern about the industry, and I want to do some things to help it in its dire situation. We need to consider an abatement of the severance tax like happened in the 1990s. We've got to stop issuing regulations, at least for the next few years during this down part of the cycle. A regulation is nothing more than a tax by a different name, and we've got to stop that. And finally, we've got to stop the handouts. There is an amazing amount of money being handed out in the form of alternative fuel subsidies. Yes,
John, thank you very much. John, now hold on to that microphone.
Okay.
You get the opportunity to be first on the first question. There are 7 candidates in the Republican primary for this office. What is it? Let me state that again. Excuse me. And by citing your specific qualifications, what is it that sets you apart from the other 6?
I would say 2 things. The first is that the Railroad Commission is unlike other state agencies. There's just one ag commissioner, one land commissioner, one comptroller. There are actually 3 railroad commissioners. They serve staggered 6-year terms, and surprisingly, a single railroad commissioner has almost no authority. They act together as a group, and the way they issue decisions are in hearings. There are motions, evidence, rulings, motions for rehearing. In other words, the commission acts like a court. My background is as an attorney. I'm a former special assistant attorney for the state of Texas, honors grad at the University of Texas School of Law. I'm well qualified for the actual day-to-day work of the commission. But beyond that, I have a vision for what this commission should be doing for Texans, not just for the industry, for all of us, in how we can fight back against the overreach of the EPA. The Obama EPA is conducting an irrational war on fossil fuels. And I want to do for this agency what Greg Abbott did for the Attorney General's office, not in terms of filing lawsuits, in terms of fighting the crazy ideas coming out of Washington before we go to court. I'm all for suing the EPA when they're violating the Constitution. But as an attorney, I look at the situation and I say, why are we waiting until a day before this rule goes into effect? It takes the EPA 18, 20...
John, thank you very much. Wayne, let me repeat the question for you. There are 7 candidates in the Republican primary for this office. By citing your specific qualifications, what is it that sets you apart from the other 6?
Proven record and experience. I can't sit back like anybody else and promise I'm going to be this way or I'm going to do that, because I have a record in the Texas legislature of what I have and have not done. And I'm honored to say that I was labeled probably one of the most conservative and the most conservative in many of the legislative sessions. Let me tell you, I agree with what my fellow candidate says here tonight. The oil and gas business is in problems, and as I said in the opening, 37% of our budget. I look at the SO sign up here. My mom and dad went in business back in the early 60s at an Inco station in Tennehouse, Texas. So I created oil and gas from the bottom up. I learned oil and gas by changing tires and fixing flats. I understand that right now there's more people out of work, more families that don't have jobs. And we need somebody with experience to fix this problem, or at least not let it get worse. And let me make it clear, the EPA, the Sierra Club, the others I mentioned before, during this next session, we'll have the opportunity to block drilling, to have impose new fines, new fees, new taxes, to impose anything they want to, because it's open season for 12 years when you have that. And I'm the one that has stood, I was called by the industry and by other Tea Parties and Republican friends to run for this office because they looked over the slate of candidates and found no one with proven experience that had actually regulated the Railroad Commission, had actually voted and had bills passed, and had stopped the EPA from affecting our industry in Texas. So I'm ready to fight for that battle for our children with oil and gas, our most important natural resource.
Why don't you hold that mic in your hands again while we read question number 2. Thank you both. The oil and gas industry is a major component of the Texas economy. How do you, as a railroad commissioner, balance the need to support this industry in light of increased regulation and mandates by the EPA?
Well, the way you do that is that you decide, are you liberal or are you conservative? If you're liberal, that means I want more regulations from the government. I want the Railroad Commission to regulate more, to do more. I want government to have more control over what's going on. As a conservative in my practice, and you can look at my history, I believe that we are conservatives, meaning we want less government, less control, and open up the free market system, because when the free market system operates correctly, it wins every time over government control. Now, the government, the Railroad Commission, should be there to protect the public against the bad actors. And indeed, we need to do that. When the people are out here doing something that's harming the citizens, my job in the Railroad Commission is to regulate that, to step in. But then mostly it's to step back and take those people, as I've done for years, and say, no, we don't need to impose new fees, new taxes, new limitations, all these things. We need to let the free market fix it. And if there's something broke, we don't need a government bureaucrat to fix it. We need the free market to be challenged and told, okay, here's a problem, and the Railroad Commission tells you this needs repairing. You need to stop doing that. And the free market will do it, will step up to the table. We exceed currently 0 EPA regulations, but we generally think of oil and gas as dirty. That's something we have allowed as citizens. We're good folks, and the oil and gas industry is a 40% part of our economy we need to defend from this outside opposition.
Thank you very much. John, I'm going to repeat the question for you. The oil and gas industry is a major component of the Texas economy. How do you, as Railroad Commissioner, balance the need to support this industry in light of increased regulation and mandates by the EPA?
Thank you. As I started to say in one of my other answers, this is the passion that led me to get into this race, and is the central issue that I feel we have to look at. You know, my family owns a small ranch in South Texas, and last summer we learned for the first time that the EPA has adopted a new regulation under which they are claiming direct jurisdiction over private property throughout the United States. It's called the Waters of the United States Rule. It's currently been stayed by a federal court. And I was stunned. You know, in retrospect, I've sort of become numb to all the crazy ideas coming out of Washington, but that one seemed so outrageous to me. I think of the EPA as being in charge of factories and refineries and industrial facilities, and the idea that they would claim control over all private property in the United States is shocking to me. I believe that they're following the bad example of the White House. The Constitution is crucial to our success in this country. We've got to protect it and defend it. And so what I would say is the way that we push back on the EPA is drawing that bright line in the sand and saying, you must follow the law. Just because the president chooses to ignore it doesn't mean that all of the federal agencies can start ignoring it. And we've got to have active day-to-day mechanisms for pushing back. We can't depend on electing a new Republican president. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And John, again, you're going to start off with
Yes, sir.
this question here. This particular question is going to deal with exploration, drilling, and fracking. Since you touched on that, I'll bring this one up. Municipalities such as the city of Denton have been in the news as they have tried to outlaw fracking and other drilling methods in their cities. What is your position on local control versus state control over exploration, drilling, and fracking?
This is a very important question, and it's a big question that has different parts. The first and most important part is that the Railroad Commission must have as its first responsibility the health, safety, and welfare of all Texans. Okay? You can't look at what happened in Denton in a vacuum. The local city officials were taking action to try and protect their citizens. And anytime there are concerns about industry activity, that has to be taken seriously. On the other hand, we cannot have all chiefs and no Indians. There has to be clear lines of authority on different issues. In order to resolve that confusion, the legislature last session passed a bill called House Bill 40, and it created that division. What are the things that municipalities will be in charge of? Emergency services, lighting, streets, things of that nature, the operation of the city. And what are the things that the Railroad Commission will be in charge of? Drilling, basically things underneath the surface of the earth. And I believe that that is a reasonable division of responsibility between the different levels of government. And I think Mr. Leach may still be here. It's not my decision. It is the legislature is the first branch of government, and they've spoken, they've decided, and it is our job to follow that rule.
Thank you, John. John, I'm going to do one more follow-up. If you don't mind passing it back to him, Wayne. What about water? Water's under the ground. Who controls it?
So water is a combination of factors. The main, and that's a big topic. Let me tell you the most important piece of that topic is water fit for human consumption. Okay? There's a lot of brackish water, a lot of salt water under different parts of the state of Texas, depending on the geological formation. The protection of drinkable groundwater is under the Railroad Commission's authority. And under Rule 13, they're doing a good job of protecting that resource.
Thank you, John. All right. Wayne, the same question for you. I'll start it one more time. Municipalities such as the city of Denton have been in the news as they've tried to outlaw fracking and other drilling methods in their cities. What is your position on local control versus state control over exploration, drilling, and fracking? And then we'll come back with the second piece on water.
I agree with John. The legislature basically has settled that in the last session. What's under the ground, the Railroad Commission has basic authority over. What's above ground, local municipalities can basically control. So that division has been made not by the Railroad Commission, but by the legislature. Let me tell you what's important is that we look at when we do have a problem of any kind. You don't just use the Railroad Commission by itself to fix problems. You have to be able to turn to the Public Utilities Commission. You have to turn to the other divisions of government. If there's a problem there, you need to turn to the different committee chairmen in the House and the Senate. to see if they will join you in an effort. If it becomes an issue with the EPA, national coming down upon us, then you turn to your national senator and congressman and your legislators in Washington and work together. The politician who goes to Austin and tells you he can do everything himself is fooling you. He needs to know how to work, and that's why after 14 years I have the friends, the knowledge, the understanding of how the game works.
All right, thank you. Now, in regard to the subsurface water, would you address that, please?
Yes, perhaps I'm the one with the most authority on that in the legislature. I come from deep East Texas, and I controlled, in my legislative district was both Sam Rayburn, Toledo Rayburn, the largest groundwater source in the United States. And underground water was our natural resource. And the difference is on top of the ground, well, the government has control. Below the ground, well, it belongs to the landowner in East Texas. So they did most of the same idea as minerals to the railroad commission. What's on top belongs to the public. What's underneath the ground, well, on top, the government has some control. I remember Toledo Bend, we're having the electric company come in rural Texas and drain the water to create electricity. And they would draw it down to where the homes around it, the industry, the fishing tournaments, sports, all this were stopped because they'd get down and almost dry the lake up to generate electricity. And I was able to fight and pass a bill against the electric utility companies and set a level of Toledo Bend Lake that it can never go below, and they have to just stop pumping the water out at a certain level when it harms the citizens. So our job is as legislators, as commissioners, as public servants, is to look and say, if the public is being harmed in any regards, then we need to use, number one, scientific research evidence, not just Sierra Club scares, not just tree huggers who are fanning the flames. We've done the best job, the right job in Texas, and we need to be proud of it, and while we'll defend those that are in error.
Thank you very much. Wayne, hold on to the mic. I want to go to the next question. This will be the fourth question, and it is the final question this evening for your group. You are running as a candidate in the Republican primary. How have you been involved with the party in the past, either at the state level or at the local level?
I've been the national delegate to the National Convention 3 different times, 4 actually, but we were in session one of the 4 times and we weren't able to go. Also, I've been the platform chairman of the state party under Kathy Adams, where she appointed me as platform chairman, where I wrote the platform. I was the first Republican since Reconstruction, in fact, in deep East Texas to win a House seat. In fact, the first 3 sessions I served in the legislature, I was the Republican with the most Democratic district in the entire legislature. I have lived through the times, folks, when the Democrats were in control. Then I saw the Republicans come into control. And I remember that all the Democrats ran to Ardmore, Oklahoma with Willie Nelson singing songs. Y'all remember that? Because they didn't want us Republicans taking over. Folks, I've been there really through the fight to see Texas turn from the wrong to the right. And it's right to be, the Republican Party now is in popularity. Now the Democrats are jumping on the local tickets because that's how you win elections. But there is a truth to being a Republican that I think. I remember that slogan we used to have, and I hope it was still there. Faith, family, freedom. Y'all remember that? That's the Republican cause. And in that order, I believe if we retain as Republicans the understanding that that's what's important, we'll prevail.
Thank you very much. John, for you, the same question. You are running as a candidate in the Republican primary. How have you been involved with the party in the past, either at the state level or at the local level?
Thank you. That is an important question. This is my first time to run as a candidate for any office, and so my entire history has been in working for the party. My first race was in 1978, handing out flyers in the Bill Clements for governor election. And I got to tell you, it takes a lot of commitment to conservative cause to be a foot soldier in a race when your party has not won in Texas in 100 years. And so I've seen quite a bit of the change that Mr. Smith has talked about, Mr. Christian has talked about. Since those days, I have been a precinct chair, an election judge, a delegate to precinct, senatorial, state conventions. I've served on the platform committee. I've volunteered for more races than I can remember. I've worked on the Victory phone bank. In fact, one of my first dates with the woman that I ended up marrying was not dinner and a movie, it was dinner and phone banking at Pflugerville Victory Center. I wanted her to know what she was getting into. And in about 2001, some like-minded individuals. We got together and formed the Central Texas Republican Assembly. I've belonged to many Republican clubs, and I've been on the board of many of those clubs. So I have a long history of commitment to conservative candidates and causes.
Thank you, John. Now it's time for the wrap-up. You each get 1 minute, and John, you get to go first, since Wayne went first in the beginning.
Thank you very much. I'm so pleased to be here with you today. This is a super important office, and it's great to see so many people who are here and finding out about it and caring about it. I guess I will wrap up by saying that although there are many people in this race who have been involved with the party in a variety of ways over many years, the real question is about the future. What is it that's going to be best for the state going forward? Who can do the best job for the industry and for the citizens going into the future? Former Land Commissioner Jerry Patterson was looking at getting into this race. He decided not to. He has studied all the candidates, studied all the issues, and I'm very pleased to announce that Jerry Patterson has endorsed me in this race as the person who will do the best job serving you as Railroad Commissioner. I ask you to join him in supporting me on March 1st. Please go to johngreytok.com and click either on the donate button or the endorsement button, or both.
Thank you very much, John. Wayne, your final summation.
Again, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. And this is a fine gentleman, and it's been an honor to serve in the race with him. And we both agree that God needs to be first in all that we do, and why our state and our nation is in the mess it's in, because we honestly believe, and I honestly believe, that we've kicked God out of the clubhouse and we've kicked politics out of the church house. And we're suffering from that, folks. And I've fought my entire career. I'm endorsed in this race by Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, by David Barton, Kelly Shackelford, by the DFW Conservative Voters, by the Northeast Texas, Northeast Tarrant County Tea Party, by the Grassroots in McKinney, and by several other conservative organizations all across the state, because they know my record. And it's never been as dangerous to our children and grandchildren as it is this next session, and I can't repeat enough. Sunset. Oil and gas totally at risk for the next decade. If we allow someone new that doesn't know how the system works, and day one you have a learning curve, I'm the only one that brings and has been asked to come into this race in order to bring an experience we need.
Thank you, Wayne, very, very much. Gentlemen, I'll release both of you this time, and I'd like to invite Heather Fisher, your audience.